Okay, we're gonna start with a with our blank page here, with just an empty file, all in white. Okay, and we're gonna start painting our texture here. It doesn't matter too much at this point what size this file is, because this is just an example for you to learn the process of doing it. So it doesn't matter too much the size at this point. But usually textures for Combat Mission Shock Force are done at 248 pixels by 248 pixels. 2048 pixels by 2048 pixels, and then sometimes reduced to half this size after you've done them. This of course can vary, and it's totally irrelevant at this point for you to learn how to do it. First thing you need to decide is your base texture. And what is the base texture? Is most of the objects and the surfaces, they have some kind of roughness to them. They have some kind of texture, like well, sandpaper, like little little dots that go up and down, and all kinds of irregularities to them. They're not flat and shiny and totally flat, 100% flat. They have little textures in them. So you have to decide what kind of roughness and texture each part of your object is going to have. Here what we're going to do is going to imagine that this area outside here is completely flat, and that this area here has some texture to it, and we're going to create this base texture for this area here. Imagine this is a little box we have on top of our vehicle, and it has some texture to it. First thing I'm going to do is apply some a different shade to it. So I'm going to hit this little button here and create a new layer, and we're going to work on this new layer. Then pressing Ctrl and delete, I'm going to fill this area, this selection, with black. Having done that, I can undo the selection, and then I'm going to be working only on this layer here because it is selected. You know it is selected because of the blue. Then we're going to hit Ctrl and U, and we're going to open this hue and saturation window here, and we're going to give it more lightness so that we get this kind of gray. Now we're going to apply a texture to this, a base texture to this box, to this rectangle, and you can do this in several ways. You can find loads of different textures on the internet for free that you can use. You can grab some textures, some skins that have already been made for Combat Mission Shock Force, and modify them and apply them here. There's loads of different ways to do it. I'm going to show you one way to do it directly on Photoshop. So I'm going to zoom in so that you can see this very clearly. And we're going to start by using a filter which is called noise. And we're going to add some noise. Okay, we're going to add some monochromatic noise, and we're going to decide how much noise we want in this surface. Now we can carry on and apply a motion blur to it. Okay, and it's going to give us a bit of a metal kind of surface. Now I'm going to also play a little bit with contrast and see how this thing looks with more contrast or less contrast. We click twice here to see the magnifying tool, to see it in 100% magnification how it's going to look like, and see if we're satisfied or not with our texture. Sometimes I even use the unsharp mask to make it more sharp, more clear, the texture. It depends on how you want to do it. This is just one way. There are loads and loads of ways of applying texture to your And here are some textures I downloaded from the internet for you to take a look. So we can also use this kind of textures taken from the internet that you can use in your objects if you want to. So you have a great variety of base textures to use. Suppose you want to use something like this, you can just grab and drag it to your file and use it as well. So if you want to use it smaller, you want a smaller size, you want a finer grain, or you want really rough, you can leave it like that and put it here. Then you can select the area around your object, come to selection, inverse, so that you select only this area. Come here again. I use copy and paste and then delete this one. Okay, and then you have an alternative, which would be this one, maybe too dark, so you can always Ctrl U and add more lightness to it. Also, you lose a bit of the texture when you're making it too light, so you can use this other tool, which is brightness and contrast. So you add more brightness, but you add more brightness, but also you can add more contrast so that you don't lose so much of the texture. Or you can go the other way, get less texture. So once you have the texture the way you want, then you can start working. Also, a good thing of working with layers, and layers are just this, one layer on top of the other. So this one is on top of this, and this one is on top of this one. You can mix them, so you can work with the opacity here and make it more transparent. So it's going to start to mix with the one below. So this is a way of creating even another kind of texture. Okay. Once you have this texture, another important tool you're going to use quite a bit is the clone tool, right? This little stamp here. You need to click and holding out, you click an area of your texture, spells here where they have this little mark of a slightly different yellowish color, and you click and hold out, and you transfer all the surfaces that are on that area to this area here. So you're cloning this to this. Okay, so in this way you can create you see this dot here comes to here, or this little thing here, I want it here. So you can clone different areas of your texture. So suppose you want to clean this texture a bit more, you can click here and go cleaning things that are too different and will stand out too much, and suppose you have one a more even surface, so just go cleaning a little bit to have a more even surface. Okay, so cloning tool is very, very useful. So once you decide this is your texture, then you're going to start working on top of this base texture. Okay, and it's good if you're working rarely the outside's going to have this difference in value, so we're probably going to have to adjust this one, make it a shade of gray as well. Okay, so suppose you have a very shiny metal here, and then here you have a corrugated, very texture intensive box on top of this very flat metal. Okay,